Hi, hello everyone. It's Danny with Skin Harmonics. I am a licensed esthetician and skin texture expert, and I've created something called the regenerative skin process, which creates skin that is self-purifying and self-renewing. And today I want to talk about barrier restoration. Again, I know I bring it up a lot, but what I've really started to realize is that this is something that, although we are saying the word and media and advertising companies are using this word, very few people even really still knows what it means. And so that's what I want to break down in today's videos so that all of my people understand unequivocally exactly what barrier restoration is. And there's several words for barrier restoration. Another thing that is simultaneously used to say barrier restoration is microbiome. When we talk about skin flora by microbiome, that's the same thing as barrier restoration. And also barrier function. That is all barrier restoration. So it might be a little confusing that these terms are used interchangeably, but I want you each to know that they're all essentially the same thing. And it really does create this safety and this sense of wellness for our skin that it's literally impossible to achieve if there is a compromised barrier. And when we talk about barrier, what that is it's specifically our acid mantle. And it's this very, very thin line of oil. And another word for it would be microbiome film. And this oil, if you're looking at this bright yellow, our bright yellow color on my diagram, I'm trying to point, I'm realizing that it's not translating, that pointer isn't showing for you, but let your eye go to this yellow part of this diagram that I've made, because that is oil, your own natural oil that is created in the sebaceous gland and actually travels up through the pore canal, through the pore opening, and spreads across the skin, and it mixes with our sweat. And our sweat has so many different chemical components to it, but it's the synergy and it's the marriage of these two ingredients that create our acid mantle, which is our microbiome film, which is barrier restoration. And when this oil is intact on the surface of our skin, it completes our immune system. We have, our full body has organs that are part of its immune system. And skin is the first defense. It's often left out of some immune system diagrams, but it is the singular most important organ that we each have. Our skin literally separates us from our environment. And our skin, if it doesn't have this acid mantle intact, it lets intruders, bacteria, viruses, pathogens in through our skin. And that's how it got its name, our acid mantle, because it is slightly acidic, so that it kills these germs on contact. And so having our acid mantle intact and in full force, being very robust and strong, having that layer of oil like that, and it's not a layer of oil, like I said, it's like this invisible film, that completes our immune system. And that is beyond beauty, beyond aesthetics. There's this very deep fundamental role that our skin provides, and that's our immune system. And as I mentioned before, our pore canal think of it as a highway. And we want the highways open and functional and, able to send this traffic of our own oil through it. Over here on the right, this other image, it's like this, it's just not going to be an efficient highway, which is what our pore canals are if they're not taken care of. And the way that we take care of them is by hydrating it. And the other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to barrier function is that it's a verb and a process, and it's a thing. The thing is the acid mantle. It is an object. It's an actual thing that we could go in and be like, yep, this is a A+ microbiome film. But what isn't always talked to is that it's a process that created that beautiful yellow oil that was in my diagram and in our own skin. It's a process of how that oil mixed with our sweat comes to be. And so I think this is where some of the confusion lies is, oh, we do all these things to disrupt our barrier and destroy it and literally scrape it off. But then somehow it's all okay because we put a barrier cream on afterwards. And yes, it's the right step in the right direction. However, our skin to our genetic setting will supply its own oil. And in the meantime, and in addition to, we support it with external oil. But I want to really just stress how barrier function is a process. It's actually a sequence of events that creates that final sparkling object of that magical microbiome film on our skin. And it happens like this diagram that I've made here shows that and demonstrates this process. Like on this first diagram at the upper left of my screen, you can see how our oil is trapped. It leaves our sebaceous gland, that little round thing, and it can't quite get through like it's trying to. And then over time, it's completely blocked. Over here on this diagram on the upper right, you can see how there's no yellow golden oil anymore because it's all just so constipated and compacted in. And that's where the trouble begins, because that oil doesn't have a free flowing exit to the top of our skin. That's where the problems happen. But here on the bottom left, you can start to see that turned around by us adding an external moisturizer. It begins to increase hydration and soften our skin over time to where eventually our own oil can make it successfully all the way through our pore canals, out through our pore opening, and it can spread across our skin, mix with our own natural sweat. And that's where we've arrived with our barrier. And so this sequence just really shows how it truly is a process. It's not a thing, or it includes the thing. And also, I want to I love sharing this bit of information about how years ago our sebaceous gland by scientists was proclaimed as being a living fossil of our skin. That the fact that we even had sebaceous glands was just something that we needed, thousands of years ago, but now we still have it and it's completely useless. And it's absolutely not true. Our skin sebaceous gland is not a living fossil. Now scientists are proclaiming that it's the brain of our skin. It's highly intelligent, and it's receiving and sending out so many signals about how much oil to make or to not make. And it all depends on what's happening with hydration levels, and it depends on how much disruption and anxiety our sebaceous gland gets. So you can see that this whole trauma-based skincare, all these protocols of, the oil is the enemy and we have to disrupt, destroy all the oil, all of that is just completely dysregulating our sebaceous glands. Whereas if we just, accepted that there's a rightful place for oil in our skin and got out of its own way, then, we would all have lovely and beautiful and robust barriers, which is what's needed. And nextly, I also want to just speak to this because our sebaceous gland and our oils, how much oil is on our skin and all of that is directly tied to genetics. Like, it's something that, each of us has zero control over. Whether we have black hair, red hair, curly hair, straight hair, our pore size is exactly the same way. And because this pore size is genetic, it's very unwise to try to shrink our pores, because you're basically taking all the functionality out of our pores, and that leads to bigger problems. And I often say this, that for people to not have to like struggle with pore size and thinks their pores are so big and all of this around hating their pores and all that, it's as ridiculous as a nippleless Barbie. Like, it's, our pores are just part of our anatomy, like plain and simple. And so as ridiculous as a nippleless Barbie is, so is photoshopped images of our nose like this. So many photos of skin up close have photoshopped the pores out, so everybody thinks that they have these ginormous pores, when in fact, no, they have pores that are true to their genetics. And the larger the pore size, the more oil our skin will make. And that's neither good or bad at all. It's just, we just have to understand what our skin is, and across the board, no matter what our genetics are, support that optimal functioning of whatever our sebaceous gland is making genetically. And everything, like I had just mentioned, all of the modern trauma-based skincare products and all of many procedures completely disrupt and dysregulate sebaceous function. They're overexciting, because trauma will overstimulate our sebaceous gland. And by always removing that top layer of oil on our skin, it tells our sebaceous gland that it has to make more. The sebaceous gland senses when our skin is dehydrated and will continue to produce and overproduce oil, compared to if it senses wellness and hydration, then it can relax and it doesn't have to overproduce to always replace the oil that's being constantly removed from the surface of our skin. So conventional modern skincare is extremely dysregulating for our sebaceous gland. And I wanted to also speak to this Korean skincare. I know it's been being hyped up for years. It's been a big part of the skin industry, and been hearing more and more about it. And just know that this is really, really brilliant marketing on their part. And plus, it's part of like the grass is greener on always somewhere else. Like some other country has a better understanding of skin, and there's might be some truth to that. But something to know about Korean skincare is genetically Koreans have very small pores. And so it's absolutely ridiculous for people of different genetics to keep trying to chase having pores like this woman here, because genetically it's like me wanting to have an afro, or like me wanting to have red hair. Like, it's just, we can dye it, sure, but when it comes to skin, there's no option like that. Like, we can't change the genetics of our skin. And so buying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of Korean skincare will not give you smaller pores. Like, it just won't. But what we can do to support the size of our pores and the health of our pores across the table is to do the Skin Harmonics protocol, which is minimal cleansing, only using a cleanser when there's a lot of sunscreen and a lot of makeup involved, which means the morning just doing warm water cleansing. And then, yes, it's about using a moisturizer, and that's what Lamina is and all my moisturizers, but there's this way of inserting water underneath that moisturizer that pumps up hydration and maximizes moisture, which is the right combination of oil and water. And of course, Revive on the upper screen that I'm sharing with you here, that's once a month, maybe twice a month. And in some cases, if we're working with resurfacing acne, we can exfoliate once a week, absolutely no more than that. And of course, doing that using the enzyme as a way, even if working with an acne scrub with that, we're still following up with this Revive enzyme pack, which is hydrating, and it's only exfoliating what needs to go. It's not over exfoliating the skin. So a lot of protocols with conventional skincare will have ladies exfoliating nightly. I run into that a lot still, where I have new clients coming to me and they've been told to exfoliate nightly, or never been told that in the morning you just never ever want to exfoliate as a hard fast rule, because it just creates too much of a sun sensitivity. So by adhering to the Skin Harmonics protocols, you are absolutely supporting your barrier. And then here's a photo of all of my moisturizers. They all do the same thing. They're all interchangeable. It all just boils down to preference of texture and smell. So, but again, it is more than just applying an external oil. It's inserting the hydrating serum and using the hydrating water before that, combined with all these other things that I've mentioned, the minimal exfoliation, the minimal cleansing. And something to also mention is that going for that squeaky clean sensation after you've cleansed your skin is something that you never ever want with getting good barrier on your skin. That squeaky clean that comes from using alcohol in a cleanser or toner, using makeup pads to remove makeup removal pads are never a good idea. But often the goal is to get that skin to that squeaky clean, and that is a huge no-no. That squeaky clean means that you've removed all of your natural oil and you have successfully stripped your skin, which is exactly what we don't want. And that includes any kind of pore minimizer. There's clays, there's toners is how they're often sold. There's even moisturizers. I don't get it. They're sold as pore minimizing moisturizers, which is impossible. These are just all ways to sell a product, and it, just completely contributes to all the confusion that we're having out there. But any type of pore minimizer, any product that is advertised to minimize your pores, just don't buy it, because what those do and what all of these things do is that they're basically shriveling your pores up. Like, sure, they're smaller because it turned a grape into a raisin. And I see this time and time and time again with new clients underneath my magnifying lamp is, yeah, their pores have been made smaller, but guess what? All that oil is getting stuck underneath, and the amount of congestion and subsurface blockages underneath those raisined in dehydrated pores is always escalated. It's just so problematic. So great, you have these tiny pores, but they're non-functioning now, and now you've got a much bigger problem on your hands. And the other thing that disrupts our barrier function is skin trauma, like microneedling, microdermabrasion, chemical peels. All of those things tell our sebaceous gland to overproduce oil, and it removes anything at the surface. Any barrier that was there is completely annihilated. And all of those invasive procedures, that's exactly what they're doing. They're wrecking your microbiome film and your barrier. So this is the thing to do. Just always bring it back to these basics and know that there's so many good things that are happening quietly with your skin. And it might be not as exciting as the roller coaster of stripping the skin and exfoliating the skin and that whole toxic cycle, but you can just know that your skin is just being nourished in a very, very profound way. It's being hydrated consistently. The barrier's being supported consistently. Once a month, it's getting a perfect gentle enzyme, and the Revive uniquely supports that overall softening that we're getting with our skin. Because only skin that is soft and permeable and maximally hydrated can even enjoy barrier function, where all of that oil is leaving the sebaceous gland, traveling successfully, uninterruptedly to the surface of our skin and can be distributed. So this is where the magic happens, is in this very simple sequence that we're doing. And I want to just also say that it's just really about, we have to just trust our own oil and embrace our own oil, and we have to just get that thing out of our head about how we were all kind of brainwashed that we were going to clog our pores, and that anybody with oily skin, it was yucky and gross, and that's where all the problems happen. And not at all, not at all. And so we have to just embrace and trust our own oil and our own sebaceous glands. And then just remember that it's very much a process. In order to get to this yummy, this diagram on the right here with the magical oil, it's magical because it's we've created it. Our own skin has created this oil. It mixes with our sweat, and we have this beautiful hydrated skin that's clear. It doesn't suffer from these subsurface blockages at all. And in order to get to this destination where we all want, this is where the delayed aging happens as well. Like, our skin can't even begin to get to a delayed aging state until we've achieved this barrier function. But again, it's very much a process. Like, this diagram over here on the left is what is the state of skin when most people's skin when they come to see me, and that any skin that's not enjoying all the things that I've been talking about, this intense hydration, not over cleansing, not over exfoliating, and getting this deep nourishment. So it very is much a process to get from point A to point B here. And that's what barrier function is about. And something that supports that process is, of course, getting a deep pore cleansing session, because that we can take out just, tremendous amounts of these subsurface blockages in our skin. And our skin, as it's softening and absorbing the products, absorbing metabolizing the nutrients, it starts to happen, but it can happen very, very slowly, that these things start pushing out. But if you come in and get your pores cleaned out, it's saving about 5 to 10 years of time waiting for it to spontaneously release on its own. And I do know that some subsurface blockages just will never be able to spontaneously release. Some will, but some just never, or, it needs that extra bit of oomph to get them to the outside of our skin. So deep pore cleansing sessions are incredibly helpful. And I think that's it. I wanted to just really drive home this idea and explain this idea that beyond it just using a moisturizer, yes, that's supportive and that's a step in the right direction, and being consistent with that is exactly what's needed. But also this understanding that it's a process. It's about functionality. It's about having pore canals that aren't raisined shut, and that they're wide open highways, and that they are delivering this oil to the surface of our skin. Our pores are unobstructed and the exact perfect size that they need to be to deliver this oil, not over, not under, but that they're optimal functioning size. And that's what barrier restoration is about. So it's so much bigger than just using a product. It's about understanding and comprehending this whole process so that our skin can just work as the symphony that it was born to be. And I would also love it. You each should schedule an appointment with me, get your pores cleaned out. Here on the left is my California office, and over on the right here is my new office that is in downtown Louisville, which is right next to Boulder. And they're just, lovely, lovely places to work. I'm really blessed to have these spaces. So come visit me there. And I will see you each next time.